everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
So nice to see you all. I know some of you, and some of you I don't know yet. For those of you I do know, it's fantastic to see you. Hi, Tara. Hi, Lucio.
Hello.
Hi, Susan.
Hello,
Hi,
Nicola.
Hi. And those of you I don't know yet, it's delightful to meet you. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you today. So there's a couple of you who are invisible. And if you prefer to be invisible, that's totally fine. But I would love to see you if you feel like making yourselves visible. And if you don't, that's fine. And let's see, I think we should probably get started. Yes, I think we should. There's a waiting room, people keep popping in, so I'm going to be a bit distracted for the next minute or two, so just bear with me. Right, so this is called What You Really Need to Know About Becoming a Successful Coach and Coach Training. So we're going to have some fun, and I'm going to demystify a lot of the mistaken ideas people have about coaching and about coach training. And I'm going to tell you about my coach training program, World Class Coaching Academy. And it's going to be quite interactive, the whole hour we spend together. So I would love to hear your questions, make sure that the webinar really addresses what you want to get out of it and what you need to know. So please feel free to interrupt at any point and ask questions. And if you're all being very quiet, then I'll stop talking about halfway through and ask you what your questions are. Does that all sound all right?
Yep.
Fantastic. So where is everyone from today? I think we've got some different locations represented. So I'd love to hear you tell me where you're from, or else maybe put it in the chat.
I'm Carol Espel, and I'm from New York.
You're Carol and you're from New York. Welcome, Carol. That's wonderful. So it's 11 a.m. where you are. 11 a.m.
That's right.
Fantastic.
I'm Joshna, and I'm in London, London, Wimbledon. I have done some coaching in the past, took some time out, now back in. And Nicola, you and I will be having a meeting at some stage in the very near future, so I'll give you a shout after. I'll go back on mute and let others speak.
Great, look forward to it. I'm in beautiful Bath, as many of you know. I'm Susan, who is my New York ambassador for World Class Coaching Academy. Welcome, and you're in New York, aren't you, I think?
Thank you, Nicola. I am indeed. It's a beautiful day here. It's getting hotter every day, but nice, and things are looking up here.
Excellent. Alan, where are you calling from?
Yes, I'm calling from El Salvador, Central America.
Fantastic. Excellent. Welcome. So nice to meet you, and say hi to Claudia.
Okay, I will.
And Dave, where are you calling from?
Hello, Nicola. I'm calling from Hamilton, Ontario in Canada.
Oh, fantastic. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
So nice to meet you. And
You as
Quavo,
well.
I think you're in Ghana at the moment.
I'm in Accra, Ghana today, yes, that's correct.
Fantastic.
But I'm usually out of London, so I'm out on the road today.
Excellent. So how many continents do we have, everyone? We've got quite a few. I know Stefano's from Iceland. I know Lucio is from Italy. Michelle, where are you from?
Hi, I'm from South Africa.
Fantastic. Well, this is super exciting. I'm thrilled to be here with you today. So let me quickly introduce myself for those of you who don't know me yet. So you probably figured out by now that I'm Nicola Bunting, and I run La Vita Nuova, which means the new life, which is my coaching organization. I've been doing it for 21 years, which makes me feel incredibly ancient, but it's the truth. And I was one of the first coaches in the UK when I started, and nobody knew what coaching was then. So everyone thought I'd taken leave of my senses and had a premature midlife crisis, very premature midlife crisis. So I am an executive coach primarily, so I work with teams around the world and with senior leaders. I also work with individuals though, which I really enjoy. And let's think, I've written a book called Who Do You Want to Be? How to Embrace Change and Live Your Dream. And 3 years ago, I started World Class Coaching Academy that I'll tell you about a bit later on. So just one more thing, well, I guess 2 more things about me, just so you get a sense of where all this, actually 3 things, and I'll stop telling you about me, so you get a sense of where this is coming from. So I got the MCC coaching credential, which stands for Master Certified Coach, which is the highest international coaching credential from the International Coach Federation in 2006. I was one of the very first coaches in Europe to get it. And at the time it was less than 1% of coaches, and now it's much smaller than that. So I don't know what it is. Susan, do you know what percentage of coaches are MCC? I don't offhand, but I know it's much less than 1%.
Good question. Yeah, definitely less. It is really hard to get that credential.
Oh.
So well done, you.
Thank you. Well, I've had it for almost 15 years, unbelievably. And I've had a really successful, prosperous coaching business for most of the 21 years. So it's a profession I love. And personally, I think it's the best profession in the world. I mean, I would say that because I love it. But I want to tell you, well, actually, before I tell you anything else, let me ask you, I'm assuming that you're all interested in coaching because you're here. What attracts you to the profession in terms of your thinking at the moment? Would anyone like to jump in and share?
I'll jump in, Nicola.
Canada, North America, Central America, Ghana. Come on, guys. Someone's jumping in.
I'll take a shot at this.
Thank you, Dave.
28 years in coaching already. I'm a collegiate volleyball coach. And I've worked with our national team for 10 years as well. So coaching has been a kind of a part of me. But the thing I like the most about it is assisting others achieve their human potential. And sport has been a great vehicle for me to do that. But I'm trying to expand a little horizon and see if we can grab a few more touch points in the executive coaching market. And I get reached out to a lot because of the success I've had in the sport industry by institutions, whether it's school boards or private institutions. And so this is, I'm very familiar with coaching. I'm unfamiliar with the certifications of executive coaching.
Great,
so
and
that's one of the things, yeah.
Great, Dave, that's really helpful, thank you. And I'm going to talk about that as well. I'm going to talk about the nitty-gritty and the specifics in terms of what you need to know about actually getting certified. There's a lot of myths about the coaching industry. And one of the things I think is interesting that I think we all forget is that it's still a baby industry. It's only been going for just over 20 years, really, 25 years, I would think, probably tops. And so in the big scheme of things, it's still a very much emerging new industry. So it's still a bit like the Wild West and a bit dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, if you're looking for coach training. Susan, do you have any thoughts on that? Because I know you've got an inside out perspective as an experienced PCC coach.
Yeah, over the years, as I'm sure everyone knows, the industry has really exploded. And so, you know, that is great because no offense to you, Dave, but I don't have to explain that I'm not a sports coach anymore. So when I say, you know, I'm a coach, they don't immediately think it's in the sporting world. So that is great. On the flip side, there are a lot have just created a business card and say, oh, I'm now a coach. I used to do a lot of coaching at work. And so, you know, therefore I'm now a coach. So the coach training is so important. And, you know, what to look for, what to avoid, how to really have the best experience possible for what you're trying to achieve with coaching.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. I really value your perspective as someone who's senior in the profession and you've seen it. Yeah, so the coaching profession before COVID was completely exploding as an industry. So I've got some figures here for you about that, which I think.
Nicola, I think the coaching is not taken as seriously as one should do. I mean, I've been through some intensive training. I've not gone through the credentials, but some of the coaches out there, they just do an online training and they call themselves an executive coach. And it's, I mean, I've heard really awful stories, but I remember back 20 years ago when I was assigned an executive coach, fantastic person, fantastic. But I had a really bad experience and I work in HR. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get myself go through the CIPD, Coaching Academy, Marshall Goldsmith's training, CTI. So I've done various training and not just 2-day training. I've done intensive 1 year, I've done 6 months, I've done 3 months. Whereas these days you find on Facebook constantly people are messaging you on LinkedIn saying, you can do this, you can do it, and that really annoys me. And
Yeah.
I've been a member of ICF since 2018, but never really did much with it. And with COVID-19, I thought, okay, I'm going to brush up on my coaching skills and add that to the credentials to offer my HR services. So although I've done intensive coaching, executive coaching, at this stage, I don't really want to go into full-time paid coaching. But I do want to get myself the credentials that's recognized globally.
Yes, thank you. That's Joshna speaking, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to get to that there's all kinds of absolute rubbish out there that masquerades as coach training. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you can accidentally do it. And then I think it's quite lethal. So my son is in medical school right now, training to be a doctor. And, you know, the analogy that I would use is it's someone who wants to be a doctor who does a weekend course in positive thinking and then says, I can heal you. Do you know what I mean? That it's coaching is serious business because you're working with someone who is open to change and is therefore vulnerable. And you've got the potential to help them transform their life and their profession and their leadership in really significant ways. But, you know what I'm going to say, you've also got the potential to really screw it up and leave them much worse than you found them. And I've seen some casualties of that. So
I've had first-hand experience where I had hired an executive coach for my senior leadership team, and boy, it was embarrassing.
Yes, exactly. So I think what I should probably do, everyone, is I should probably talk you through the coaching industry generally, briefly, coach training briefly, then answer your questions, then tell you about World Class Coaching Academy and answer your questions about that. Because otherwise we could probably all just chat quite happily and with, you know, be quite entertaining for the next 45 minutes, but we wouldn't cover what you need to know. So let me just talk for a bit, if that's okay, and then I'll open it to questions. So yes, so the coaching industry is a multi-billion-pound industry, multi-million dollars. I got the figure for you here. It is 11.6 billion in 2019, and the demand for coaching is growing all the time. 52,000 individuals enter the profession every year at the moment. Well, actually, that was 4 years ago, and it's growing every year. So we got a situation where the marketplace is really expanding and the demand is really expanding, but simultaneously we've got an incredibly high number of coaches going onto the market. And the main trend that I've seen in the coaching industry over the last 5 years is that coaching buyers, be that HR leaders or business leaders or individuals, are getting much more sophisticated about and aware of what they're looking for in coaching, and they want to make sure that they are getting a reputable, thoroughly trained coach in order to make it a good investment for their company or for themselves. And the ICF credential is pretty much essential these days to be taken, well, not pretty much, the ICF credential is essential to be taken seriously as a coach. And so that's one thing I would say. So the market is getting saturated with coaches, but most of the coaches, I mean, I would go so far as to say 85 to 90%, which is my sort of impression. And Susan, I'd like to hear what you think. But I would say 85 to 90% of the people who call themselves a coach out there aren't actually very good coaches, probably aren't properly trained coaches, and probably aren't making a good living from coaching. Because most coaches actually struggle making a living. I think there's a minority of coaches who actually coach full time because they don't make enough money to live off it. So it becomes an expensive hobby for a lot of people. Susan, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have anything to add on that?
I'd say that that's, at least in my experience, very true. A small percentage of coaches coach full-time and only full-time. A lot of coaches also do facilitation and training. I occasionally do some training as well. So no right or wrong, but just things to know. And the I also obviously have an ICF credential, and over the years, I was I've always been very involved with ICF, and I just moved to New York from Singapore, so I was the president of the ICF Singapore chapter, and I got asked all the time by people, oh, really would like to get training, where do I start? And it's really, it can be really overwhelming. And so that's why, I'm so encouraged when I see a group like this here today. So you can really get, just get to know what to look for and what to avoid.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. Exactly. So yes, so we've got a situation where the market is booming, and it's only accelerated since COVID. So I found my own business has been super busy since March. And all of the reassessment that everyone is doing about their lives and their work is making them want to seek out coaching. And organizations are having to pivot, and teams are losing people, and the remaining members of the team need to work together more efficiently and more synergistically and powerfully. So, the demand for coaching is actually accelerating post-pandemic. And yet we've got a lot of coaches, most of whom aren't fit for purpose, many through no fault of their own, who've been misinformed. So, there's lots of really mass market programs where you're in a group with tons and tons of other people. You don't get individual attention, and you get taught basic coaching skills. And the reality is that isn't fit for purpose in terms of creating a really lucrative coaching business going forward. So let me back up. If you want to coach as a hobby, then I would say still do an ICF accredited training program, because there's no point in spending time or money doing something that is substandard. And even if you're coaching as a hobby, you still want to be helpful to people. Gosh, I just realized I've gone straight into coach training, and I was going to say something else about coaching. Okay, let me just back up. Okay, why be a coach? It's the best profession in the world because you are helping people actualize their potential. And one of the amazing things about coaching is that you don't just do coaching, you have to be in order to be a great coach. You can't just talk. You can't just use coaching skills. You have to integrate it and be authentic. And so it's a fantastic personal development opportunity and ongoing personal development. Well, not just opportunity, a sort of necessity to step up, which is super exciting. The other thing is, apart from being really fulfilling, is you can work from anywhere in the world. So I have worked with every single continent a lot in the last 20 years, except for Australia and New Zealand. So a lot of work in Africa. It's where Kwaku first came across me, I think, in Ghana. Done a lot of work in Asia, in the States and in Europe. And you can work anywhere that you want. You can do most of it virtually, which I've been doing for years anyway. And then just zoom in, I mean, not zoom in, but like dive in face to face when you need some face to face work with a team. But you can do most of it virtually. So you can create a lifestyle that you really want from that point of view, rather than having to smush your lifestyle into your work. You can organize your work around your lifestyle, which may sound selfish, but is actually good, because then you are more energized and more inspired and you have more to give to your clients. And if you know what you're doing, you can have a beautiful lifestyle and have an abundant business if you know what you're doing and you've been properly trained. Otherwise not. Okay, so that's enough about coaching for now. We could talk about it much more. But about coach training, yeah, so if you just want to do it as a hobby still, and some of you may be in that place, still do an ICF course, because you're more likely to get quality training. Just because it's an ICF accredited course doesn't necessarily mean it's the best course for you. So you need to be very savvy about what you're looking for from your coach training. And the bigger sort of mass market, more generic programs that are ICF accredited, and there are some, might be fine if you just want to do it as a hobby. If you want to do it as a business, I don't think most coach training programs work, because they don't include business development to any substantial in-depth degree. And so I'm a coach mentor for the ICF, and one of the reasons I created World Class Coaching Academy was that in the last several years I was getting lots of new coaches and established coaches coming to work with me who didn't have successful coaching businesses and who wanted my help to get them. And we would talk about their training, and even if they'd enjoyed the training, it might have had one module on starting a coaching business. And because the marketplace is changing all the time and it's quite sophisticated, you need proper business, not generic business training, but coaching business training as part of your program. So if you want to do coaching as a business, that is an important factor. And then if you want to coach internationally, and if you want a six-figure business, then to my mind, there's not anything that is going to work except for my program, which I know sounds a little bit promotional. It's not my intention, but that is why I created it, because I was seeing this big gap in the market. So there's lots of quite good coaching programs out there that will work to a point, but if you want a really high-level business, if you want to make six figures, if you want to coach internationally, there's virtually nothing. And the other thing that I found was missing in coach training programs was personal development, which I think is a really interesting thing. Because don't you think, I know that's a rhetorical question, but don't you think that if you are going to be a coach, that you need to be a coach as well as do coaching? In the sense, you've got to embody it from the inside out. You've got to be working on yourself all the time. And you've got to have had help with that, because it doesn't come naturally to any of us. And that's not typically covered in coach training, which I find quite bizarre. So I created World Class Coaching Academy to do three things for a certain group of people, and I'll tell you who those are. So I created it to offer MCC level coach training. So even though it takes a long time to get the MCC credential, I wanted to offer coach training at that really high level rather than a basic level of coaching skills, number one. Number two, I wanted to offer high level personal development using the Enneagram. I don't know if any of you know the Enneagram, but I'm evangelical about it, as those of you who know me know. But it's a phenomenal personal development framework. But I use other approaches as well, personal development. And three, really sophisticated personal business design. so that you create your coaching business that's unique for you while you're doing the program, and you start coaching for money while you're in the program, so that you monetize the program while you're in the program. I hope that makes sense. So those are sort of 3 strands, really. At this point, why don't I take some questions about coaching in general, coach training in general. Let's not move into my program for a minute, because I want to make sure that you've got your more general questions answered first. So does anyone have any questions about coaching in general? Okay, what about coach training? Anyone any questions about coach training?
I think it would be good for you to give us an overview before we go into your program.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's kind of what I've been trying to do for the last 5-10 minutes. So basically my overview would be, I would strongly recommend that you do an ICF accredited program, first of all. And I think, Susan, I don't want to speak for you, but as an ICF PCC coach, I think you'd probably agree with me. Yeah. So yeah, definitely an ICF accredited program. The ICF website is coachfederation.org, coachfederation, all one word, .org. And then I would think about, do you want to coach for a hobby? In which case I would probably go with the course that appeals to you the most, just in terms of just general appeal that speaks to you the most. Because intuition is underrated, I think. If you want to do coaching as a business, I would suggest that you're much more rigorous in your in what you're looking for. And if you want to have a really successful, possibly international coaching business, I'm not aware of any program apart from mine that will do that. Although there's nothing to stop you taking a coach training program and then doing a separate mentorship with a coach who's got the kind of business that you want, for example. So there's always that route as well. Any other questions about coach training in general?
I have one question, and I actually wrote it into the chat. And what makes the ICF the accredited body for this? Because there's a lot of bodies out there that claim the same of being, if you need to be a kind of qualified and good coach, you need to go with us and do our training. What has made the ICF be in the front of this?
Yeah, so there's lots of stats about that I haven't got at my fingertips. That I was at the ICF conference in Prague in October where I met Susan, and I overheard the president of the ICF talking to someone else about this exact topic, and she reeled off a whole list of really extraordinary sort of irrefutable points. But I would say it was the first organization that really decided that it needed to work on creating standards for the coaching profession. So it's got history behind it. It is non-partisan, so it's not affiliated with any coach training program. It's genuinely international, so it works all over the world. And the ICF framework of coach qualifications, there's 3 of them. So there's the ACC, which stands for Associate Certified Coach. There's PCC, which stands for Professional Certified Coach, and the MCC, which is Master Certified Coach. Those are seen as the gold standard internationally for what you're looking for when you're hiring a coach. So that many other organizations have sprung up post-ICF that have particular agendas and have been associated with particular training schools. And, you know, they don't have the rigor, they haven't got the objectivity, they haven't got the non-partisanship, they haven't got the international perspective or the experience. So, you know, having been in the profession since the beginning, I would say the ICF is pretty clearly the gold standard. But I would say if you're new and you're looking and you're just looking, you're thinking about becoming a coach and you have a look online, it's overwhelming because you don't know what you don't know and you don't know what you're seeing and what you're not seeing, and you wouldn't necessarily know that about the ICF. Susan, I don't want to pick on you again, but would you maybe share your thoughts about the ICF?
Yeah, I think to your point, the history and ICF has been there from the beginning. As a trained coach, you agree to adhere to the ethics and standards and guidelines. And even though I completely agree with Nicola's point that I think buyers of coaching are getting more and more, what should I say, not picky, but I mean, they're getting smarter about, you know, buying coaching, whether it's for an organization or just one-on-one. They may not even exactly know what your credential is or you know, how many hours of training or how many hours of coaching you've had and how many clients you've had, but they know they want it. And there are other organizations I know in Europe, I don't know enough about them, you know, to say, you know, I don't think they're, to say they're good or bad or anything like that, but I know people that have multiple memberships. I've just only ever gone with the ICF. It served me very well. I'm not paid by them or anything like that. Everything I've done with them is volunteer. And more and more people, just the credential is everything. So if you, even in the back of your mind, think one day you might go for a credential, then I can't strongly recommend enough to make sure the coach training or the World Class Coaching Academy or elsewhere is ICF accredited, because I knew a lot of coaches that, you know, got trained quite a while ago and thought, I was one of them. I didn't think I would really ever have a business of coaching. I was doing it because I was a corporate trainer delivering a course on coaching. And I thought I should get, you know, do coach training so I'm better at this course. I'm not going to do my own business. I'm not going to get a credential. And then, you know, life happens. And I loved it more and more. And so, yeah, it's so important.
Yeah, and it's got very rigorous high standards. So there's what they call the core competencies for coaching, and there's a whole long list of them. And coaches have to evidence all of them to different levels in their coaching in order to get the accreditation, as well as having client hours, and they need to have graduated from an accredited ICF program. And let me tell you, getting my program accredited was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Not because it didn't meet the criteria, because it did, but it was incredibly, mind-numbingly, endlessly convoluted and elaborate to get it accredited. I had to jump through so many hoops that I felt that I'd moved to a circus. You know, so it's not easy. It's not easy to do at all. So yeah. Okay, Ariane's asked, what characteristics are necessary to have as a coach? Well, I would say you need to be super smart, because you need to be one step ahead of your clients in terms of your thinking. So you have to, yeah, I think, you know, just quite plainly, I think you have to be really intelligent to be a good coach. I think you have to care and you have to have empathy. So there are some people who go into coaches because they've heard it's a quick way to make a lot of money, which is not true, by the way. But you can't hide that. You can't hide that attitude. You have to really be invested in the client's development and in the best agenda for the client. You have to, you know, care passionately about wanting to make a difference. You have to have empathy. I think that's really important, because not everybody does. You have to have emotional intelligence. You have to have drive, I think, as well, because essentially you are running your own business. So unless you're going to use coaching as part of your portfolio as an HR director, in which case you still need drive, but for different reasons. And commitment, actually. Commitment to keep learning, keep growing, commitment to working on yourself, an interest in your own personal development. And you need to have a really good business model and a really excellent training, because, you know, rather sadly, there are lots of people out there who've got the potential to be fantastic coaches, but haven't had the right training and haven't got the right business model and are struggling, you know, despite their best intentions. So I think you need all of those things. So let us move on to talk about my program and what makes it different, and happy to answer any other questions as you think of them about coaching in general, coach training in general too. So it's very much not for everyone. So it's invitation only, and it's very small. So it's basically only for people who have got life experience behind them, have got professional high-level experience behind them, and in my opinion have got the qualities to be successful as a coach and the commitment. And typically they're going to be 40 or 50 plus, because I don't think, and I know this is a bit controversial, but I don't think you can be a good coach in your 20s, because I don't think you've got enough life experience. And I think even in your early 30s, it's questionable. So I became a coach when I was 37. And I think that was the earliest I could have done it. So, and I've become better as I got older as a coach. Hopefully as a person too, but as a coach, yeah. So gravitas as well. Yeah, so it's for people who fit those criteria, and people who are ambitious to have a high-level international business and who want to make 6 figures, because it's quite a big investment, and the right people are going to do the program and make it back really fast, probably during the program, but you wouldn't want to do that if that wasn't your intention and your objective, unless you were super rich and you didn't mind, in which case that'd be fine if you had all the criteria. So yeah, and it's got these 3 strands which make it unique, like I was talking about. So high-level coach training, high-level personal development, and business mentoring, coach business mentoring. So it's a year long, and historically it's been delivered mostly remotely. So via monthly modules and Zoom calls once or twice a month. And then 4 in-person retreats for 2 days each. Historically, we've done 2 in the States and 2 in the UK. But for this next intake that starts in October, it's all going to be virtual because of Zoom. Because of the pandemic. So it's all going to be over Zoom, which is going to make it less expensive. So it's normally $15,000 or $12,900 depending on the conversion, and it's $7,900 or about $10,000 at the moment for this next intake, because of because we're doing it all remotely, so I haven't got the expenses. Okay, fantastic. We got a question. Love your clarification, please. What do you mean by a good business model specific to topic in hand coaching? Okay, great question. How do I pronounce your name? Is it Tura?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, it's Dwaraka, so it's not phonetic at all, which makes it interesting. Dwaraka.
Dwaraka.
Yes, thank you. This is so helpful. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm really glad, and that was my hope and my intention. So, so basically, as the coaching market has exploded, and as the market is saturated with too many coaches who aren't very good and aren't properly trained, in order to be successful as a coach, you need to have a very distinctive niche. You need to have a very, very specific focus in who you're going to coach. And you need to understand how to create your coaching business to be compelling to those particular people, and how you are then going to create coaching packages and how you're going to enroll those particular people and how they're going to find you. So it's not enough to have coaching skills to have a good coaching business. You need to know exactly what you're doing and how you're doing it, which isn't generally taught in coach training, which is what I do also in World Class Coaching Academy. And so what we're drawing on your personality, so who you are. So I use the Enneagram a lot, as I mentioned earlier, and there are 9 different personality types, and there's lots of nuance within that. Quaco, you know that to your cost.
I do.
You do, yes. I shall say no more. Yes, and so there's lots of different types of wonderful coaches, but there's not a one-size-fits-all way to be a good coach. You've got to be a coach based on who you are as a person to start with. Your particular personality is going to lend itself to particular kinds of coaching. Then you need to look at your life experience. What experiences have been really significant in your life and how do they influence what's unique about you? You need to look at your professional experience. So what is your work history and how can you leverage that and bring that to bear on your coaching business if you want to? You need to look at your values, what inspires you, your strengths, what strengths do you have that you may not be aware of. So there's a whole sort of cluster of things that are unique to you that need to go into coming up with your coaching niche. And in my experience, it's one of the things that new coaches and even existing coaches actually have the hardest time with. And it requires a lot of really in-depth coaching, usually, to uncover. And so I do that with the small groups that I have in World Class Coaching Academy. So you know exactly who you're coaching, exactly how you're going to speak to them, how they're going to find you, and how they're going to want to work with you. And in my experience, if you're doing fantastic coaching, you know exactly who you're working with, and you've got clear lines of communication between you and your ideal market, you don't need to do anything that's uncomfortably salesy, because your clients are going to want to work with you and they're going to be drawn to you. So that's my experience, and that's what I want for the coaches that I train. So I hope that answers your question, Ravaya. Did that answer your question?
Dwarka, yeah, thank you. That was really helpful. Dwarka, yeah, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Where are you calling from?
From South London.
South London, fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Ariane says, what would you say is the time that is required per month, week to do your training properly if one is fully involved? Well, it's one of those things, you all know what I'm going to say, right? You can do as much as you want. I would say at least 3 hours a week. So most people do the course part-time and they've got a full-time job. So it's designed to be done part-time. And we have August off and December off because I believe in holidays. And it's time to regroup and kind of let stuff percolate. So probably 3 to 5 hours a week. But I should probably have got some people on the call who are in the program so they could have told you. But the feedback that I get from them is that actually doing the program helps them do everything else that they're doing better and with more energy, because they feel inspired and they feel clearer and they feel more self-actualized, and they've got better communication and coaching skills, obviously, so that they can negotiate and navigate their everyday job with better results. I find that there are basically 3 types of people who join the program. I'll tell you who they are. One is people in their 40s plus who are successful professionally, who want to transition to a coaching business but don't want to risk what they've worked so hard to achieve so far. So they don't kind of want to jump off a cliff and take a big risk. They want to do it in a smooth, secure way. That's one group. Another group is existing coaches who've been coaches for a while, but haven't had the business that they really want. And so, yeah, they haven't really created the business that they want. And they feel like there's a new frontier for them in terms of what their potential is as a coach. And the third group is people who are business leaders who want to use coaching as part of their portfolio. So maybe HR leaders or other senior leaders who want to use coaching in their portfolio of skills, and think, you know, maybe one day they might want to go on and become a coach. They're not sure, but in the meantime they want to use it. Right, I feel like I'm talking too much, so let me answer your questions. And there's a couple of you I haven't said hi to who joined later. So hi, all of you who joined later. You know who you are. I'm saying hi. What other questions does everybody have?
Have you ever had to? Hi, so I'm Kerry. I'm based in London.
Hi, Kerry. Lovely to meet you.
You too. I just wondered if you'd ever failed anybody on the course, just because it turned out that actually they weren't a coach.
No. So I'm running it now for the third year. So I started it in October 2017. In the first year, there was a wonderful gentleman who's a past client of mine from South America who joined. And he ended up not being able to do all the 4 live trainings. So he joined the one in Florida and didn't join the ones in England. So that was kind of a shame. But he still got a lot of coaching training hours, just not the full amount. Mm-hmm. So he still passed, quote unquote, but he didn't experience the full potential of the course. But everyone else has done it all and has gone with flying colors. So this year I've got an amazing guy in this year's program who's an HR director who has already got a waiting list of clients, and the program doesn't even finish till September. So yeah, and there's lots of other people, you know, like that who've done really well. One person who started in the first year has even written a coaching book, and she's got a group coaching program online. So lots of different coaching models. But interestingly, every single person who's done the program so far has come out of it with a different coaching business and a different coaching model. Like, everyone is unique. Kerry, how did you come across me? Because we connected on Instagram or something like that, I think.
And LinkedIn, I think. Was it LinkedIn? I think, or maybe I was searching, just probably like everybody else here. I was curious as to which qualification would be useful, and I've been looking at universities that did training. I've been looking at individuals that did training, and I knew some of the things that I was particularly looking for included the kind of the business side of it. Yeah, I was curious as that combination really of the practical stuff and just checking in on techniques and kind of new ideas and developments in coaching and keeping up to date with that. And I was interested in how I could scale up my particular strand of coaching. So I work mainly with creative people, so contemporary artists across all fields, so emerging and established. And so I'm currently working with individuals, but I've just started working with groups, and I'm interested in how I can develop. But actually it started as a mentoring service, and it's then developed into a coaching, and I just really feel the responsibility and wanting to make sure that I'm actually supporting people with the right qualifications. So I only made the decision to commit to it as a career a couple of months ago. So
well, congratulations, and exciting. And I'd love to have a chat with you, Kerry, if you'd like to see if it's a good fit.
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. So let's see, we've got 9 minutes left, so I'm very keen to answer any questions, any and all questions that you might have. So what other questions do people have?
Nicola, it's Dwaraka again. Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
By the way, can I call you Nicola, or would you like me to call you Dr. Bunting?
Oh, please call me Nicola.
Well, I didn't want to assume. Okay, Nicola. So just out of interest, do you tend to do, I've got two questions, if I may. Would you do it on, with virtual, is there a particular platform that you use, like Zoom or Skype, in terms of sort of confidentiality or privacy? And secondly, do you tend to make notes?
I use Zoom, and I don't make notes, but I get my clients to take notes, because it's their responsibility to, you know, they own it, as it were. So I get them to make notes for sure. Let me think. Are there other points that I wanted to say to you all before I open to other questions? Susan, have I missed anything, do you think, in terms of things that would be good to share with people, that would be useful?
I was just thinking maybe, you know, in the commitment per week, like say the 3 to 5 hours, what would that entail?
Okay, yeah, great question. So basically in my program, everyone gets a module every month that I've written. And I'm very keen on keeping really up to date with all the new trends in coaching all the time, because it changes so fast. So the modules are quite in depth, and each module's got a coaching track, a personal development track, and a business development track. And everyone gets a new module every month except for August and December. And so the 3 to 5 hours a week would be working through the module. There's quite a long reading list that I give everyone, because there's lots of really good books on coaching, lots of really bad books on coaching. But I'm keen for people to do the really good, read the really good books on coaching. And then there's a bit of personal development work. So I like to get everyone to do the Enneagram profile and various other assessments, and work on themselves during the year too, and work on their energy management, which I think is much more important than time management. And so there's a whole sort of personal development project, as well as the coaching skills project and the business development. The business development kind of kicks in the second half of the course, and the first half of the course is more front-loaded to personal development. What I would say is, if you're on the call and you don't know if you want to be a coach or not, it probably wouldn't make sense for us to talk, because I think, well, I don't think it would really make sense at this point. I don't think it'd be a good use of our time. If you do want to be a coach, but you're not particularly bothered about, you know, having a really successful international business or really successful business, but you want to do it as a hobby or kind of part-time, it may not be the best program for you, because there are some other good programs out there that would sort of cover you for that. Or if it appeals to you, but you don't meet the criteria that I said earlier, it probably wouldn't be good for us to chat. But if you do want to create a really successful international coaching business, if you do want to be one of the sort of top, I'm going to say 3% of coaches that really stand out in the marketplace, if you meet all of my criteria and if you want to learn more, what I would suggest is that we connect and we have a chat and we explore whether or not it would be a good fit for you, and I'll answer your questions. So Stefan, do you mind if I just pick on you a minute and ask you something? You can say no if you don't want me to.
Sure, yeah, sure.
Thank you. Well, Stefan is, I'm very excited to say, in the next cohort of World Class Coaching Academy. Yay, Stefan. So we're starting in October. And so Stefan had that kind of call with me. Yeah, it's super exciting. Would you like to tell everyone what your experience of the call was like, so they kind of get a sense of whether or not they want to have that conversation with me?
Yeah, sure. I think what you're right about, Nicola. If it's something that you want to do, that is definitely having the call. If you're not sure, maybe it's a big leap to take, and it's about if you are wanting to go down the route of helping people and it's just a very good call to clarify your own way of thinking. But in the end of the day, it's kind of up to you and whether you are kind of in your life progress of, is this something that resonates with you, and is that something that you want to do either to benefit your current positions that you do today, or if you actually want to go and change your life career and focus on. And it's a good way of kind of have that call to kind of crystallize your own thought, what you're trying to do, and understand from what Nicola can actually bring to that table for you. But at the end of the day, it's something that you need in the end of the day to make a decision for yourself. So there's a very good call to basically clarify that for you.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. Yeah, so it's not a sales call. My intention isn't to sell you on anything. It's to understand if it's a good fit and if it would be useful for you, for what you want to do. And if it is a good fit, and if you want to do it, and if I feel like you've got what it takes to be successful, then I'd love to welcome you in the program. Nothing would make me happier. But if none of those things are true, then I would hope it would still be a pleasant and conversation, and we've got a new acquaintance. So if you would like to book that call with me, let me actually, Susan, could you be really sweet and put my email address in the chat for people? I'll just tell you, do you know what it is offhand, or some reason, if I message right now, it's showing it's just going to go to Ariane, which is not very helpful, because Ariane was the last person to ask a question. So let me just tell you what my email is, and then maybe Susan can write it down too.
I will.
Thank you. So it's Nicola. Oh, thank you, Stefan.
Just did it.
Stefan, you're a star. Thank you, Stefan. Yeah, that's my email address. The course starts in October. There's an orientation module that everyone who's already joined has got, which has got a reading list for the summer and stuff to do over the summer that will get you in good shape to hit the ground running in October. So if it appeals, I'm going to suggest that we talk next week or the week after. I'm not around in August, and I think September is a bit too last minute. So yeah, so do email me or message me here if you want me to email you, if I have your email. I guess I do. I'll send you the invite. And we can book a time to talk next week or the week after, and I would love to do that and see if it's a fit. I'm super thrilled at the international nature of the group today. It just sort of happened organically, but it's really exciting, and it's a good representation of World Class Coaching Academy in terms of all the nationalities that are here. So thank you all very much for coming. Are there any final questions that anybody has in our United Nations group this afternoon?
Nicola, I just have one point of clarification. The ICF accreditation, is that inclusive in the World Class Coaching Academy, or is that do those programs parallel each other?
That's such a good question. What's your name? We haven't said hi yet.
Dave.
Dave. It's a great question, Dave. Yeah. So basically, to get the first ICF accreditation, which is the ACC, you need three things. You need to have graduated from an ICF accredited program, which World Class Coaching Academy is. You need 100 coaching hours yourself, which you can start to build up while you're doing the program from May, unless you're coaching already, in which case you can, you'll already have some you can count. And there's a knowledge assessment exam. So if you graduate from my program, you don't have the credential. What you've got is you fulfilled the training program part of the credential. Oh, and you need some mentoring hours from a coach, which could be with me or could be with someone else, but I offer them at a reduced price to people who are in the program. So does that answer your question, Dave?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Okay, you're so welcome. Any other questions before we end this afternoon? No other questions? Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming. It was a real pleasure being with you. I hope it was helpful. And
Thank you.
Love to hear from you. Oh, I should have said also, connect with me on social media so we can stay in touch. So obviously LinkedIn is self-explanatory. I have quite a lot of fun on Instagram, and my Instagram is Dr. Nicola Bunting. All one word, lowercase. So that, and well, never mind about Twitter. I don't really care about Twitter. Thanks, everyone. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank
Keep in touch. Bye.
Thank you so much, Nicola. Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.